Dallas had Bullock all by himself, but Mitchell was able to break it up. Here comes Dinwiddie! Can't get it back! A titanic finish from Dinwiddie!
Spencer Dinwiddie is back with the Dallas Mavericks. Is their roster complete? And what does it mean for this upcoming season for the Western Conference champs? This is Inside the Mavs. Welcome to Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. I'm your host, Kevin Gray, Mavericks Pre and Post Game host on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. Appreciate you joining me here for the latest episode of Inside the Mavs. Make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel at Kevin Gray Sports, make sure you like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. The Dallas Mavericks make yet another move this offseason as they bring back Spencer Dinwiddie to the Western Conference champs on a one-year deal. Of course, Dinwiddie last year spent the season with the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers, the 31-year-old averaging nearly 11 points per game and nearly 5 assists per game in 76 games in total last year with the Nets and the Lakers, famously choosing the Lakers over the Mavs, but nonetheless, a player who helped the Mavericks get to the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago and was instrumental with his playmaking and his ability to get to the rim is now back with the Mavericks to provide some depth behind Luka and Kyrie Irving as far as their bench is concerned. The Mavericks are still expected to bring back Markieff Morris as well. If that means moving on from a guy like A.J. Lawson to make room for Markieff Morris, that would seem like the most logical move for the Mavericks to make. But for the Mavericks, this is another opportunity to bring in a ball handler and a playmaker off the bench. There have been rumors from Mark Stein of Substack that the Mavericks were considering not only Spencer Dinwiddie, but Talen Horton-Tucker and also Mavericks fan favorite Dennis Smith Jr. The Mavericks opting to go with the offense and the playmaking and shooting of Spencer Dinwiddie over the ball-hawking defense of a guard in Dennis Smith Jr., who has really remade his career and found a nice role in this league, especially on the defensive end. But for the Mavericks, the familiarity with Spencer Dinwiddie, how comfortable he has been playing with this organization, and while, yes, he spurred the Mavericks to join the Lakers this past season, there is obviously an opportunity for him to come back to an environment now being able to be a part of that with Klay Thompson, Luka and Kyrie Irving. Ironically, of course, Dinwiddie was a part of the deal that helped acquire Kyrie Irving to get to the Mavericks in the first place. Things coming full circle for Spencer now coming back to the Mavericks. I want to take it back, though, of course, to his interesting comments that he made when he had a chance to choose the Lakers over the Mavericks and how he compared those two situations and what Mavericks fans may remember about what Spencer Dinwiddie said. Take a listen.
I'll give y'all something funny that I told my people because I'm fairly candid. The two situations kind of felt like this, right? Let's say you were a kid and you got your ass whooped by the bully. Dallas would have been like your mama being like, it's okay, baby, don't worry about it. Lakers are like, your dad, nah, you better go out there and fight till you win. You feel me? And I just felt like that was what I needed at the time. You feel me? So I'm a big believer in kind of doing what you need to do at whatever time it is, and so that's how I felt about it.
I'm sure water under the bridge now, but Spencer now has a chance to be able to play with a team that knows his game extremely well, will provide that kind of playmaking and shooting off the bench to provide the Mavericks that much more scoring punch for a lineup that's expected to be extremely good on the offensive end this year. All of this part of Nico Harrison's plan to put together a roster that will not only have the depth behind it with Luka and Kyrie Irving, but the necessary shooting to compete with the teams like the Boston Celtics, where, of course, we saw the Mavericks fall short in the NBA Finals. Their lack of shooting depth and their inability to knock down shots, especially from the outside, really was a detriment to them in the NBA Finals. And now with the additions of Klay Thompson, who will be inserted into the starting lineup. The acquisitions of Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes as well. Najee Marshall, a really good defender who can shoot the ball from three. Quentin Grimes, at 24 years of age, can do some things at the guard position as well. And now adding Dinwiddie to the fold, the Mavericks feel like they have a complete roster with a team that's built not only to play and do well during the regular season, but also do well, especially in the postseason. Now, having gone through the experience of how to get to an NBA Finals, they have the depth at the right places, at the right positions, at every aspect of this team to be able to be a legitimate threat to be a top 4 seed in the West once again and threaten to get back to the NBA Finals. And that, to me, is where all of this offseason has culminated to, whether it be the acquisition of Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, and now bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie. This is a team that's built not only for the short term, but for the long term as well, and making that kind of run that legitimately puts them in the conversations with the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, with the top 4 teams in the West to really give themselves a chance to get back to an NBA Finals where they made it for the first time since 2011. All of this is part of what is a terrific offseason for the Mavericks. And when you look at what they've built at all the positions, whether you go back to the trade deadline last year, where they acquired P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford to strengthen their defense, to go along with obviously what Derek Lively was building at the center position, to have that tandem with Daniel Gafford, P.J. Washington becoming the kind of guy that's relied upon as a team's great defender as he continues to improve his three-point shooting. This team has the necessary pieces to be able to make that run back to the Western Conference Finals. The question will be, how quickly will this team be able to gel? But for them, the Mavericks now are looking at a really good team based on what they've put together. Before we go any further, let's take a quick break here on Inside the Mavs and hear from today's sponsor of our video and our podcast, in Aura. But on the other side of the break, where are the Mavericks now in terms of what we look at them in the Western Conference now that their roster appears to be set? But before we get there, let's hear from Aura. Today's video is brought to you by Aura. Do a Google search on your name and email address to see how much information comes up about you. I was devastated by the amount of information that I could be seeing searching my name and profile, and I knew then I needed to be protected for not just myself, but also for my family. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work to protect me and my family so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/Kevin Gray to start your 2-week free trial. Please see the link in the description. Back here on Inside the Mavs, thank you to today's sponsor of our video and our podcast, in Aura. The Mavericks bring back Spencer Dinwiddie on a 1-year deal to help this team provide depth at the guard position behind Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. When you look at what this opening day roster is going to look like, are they one of the favorites in the West when you start looking at their rotation, a starting 5 that will have Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively II, and P.J. Washington as your first 5, I would imagine, with Daniel Gafford sliding to the bench to be able to help that second unit. That would include a Spencer Dinwiddie, a Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, Maxi Kleber, and Daniel Gafford, Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, Olivier Maxis Prosper, rounding out the roster for this team. And when you look at each of their positions and the players that we just named, a starting 5 that's as good as any in the NBA, especially if you get the Klay Thompson that was really good last year, even in a down year for him, where he averaged nearly 18 points and was shooting nearly 40% from 3 at 39% from downtown. This is a team that's got shooting, on the wings with an open Klay Thompson. It's going to see a lot of wide open looks off the passes of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Luka Doncic coming back healthy this upcoming season after dealing with ankle injuries and knee injuries and all the things that he's been dealing with. And even with Kyrie Irving, who was dealing with a broken left hand, should be ready by the time we get to training camp in September. So this team coming back healthy with the experience, but also having a full training camp to be able to grow it together after we mentioned earlier with the acquisitions of P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, a full offseason for those two individuals to be able to grow with this team as well, along with bringing in Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes. You're looking at one of the deeper teams in the West, and that to me is a massive sign of improvement based on what they did this offseason. The depth is there, and the quality of player is there as well to give you an idea that this is one of the deepest teams in the NBA, not only 1 through 5, but also 1 through 10 as well. And as much maligned as Maxi Kleber is, we know that his defensive versatility is something that the Mavericks have valued and will continue to value. And yes, I know Dwight Powell is still on this team as well. You say, Kevin, you forgot to mention him. Yes, Dwight Powell still on this team as well. I'm sure he'll find a way to get hit in the face at some point during the regular season like he always does. But jokes aside, this is a deep team with chemistry that you've seen be able to make the kinds of moves that this front office has made, moving out Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green, among others, to be able to make room for Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, and Najee Marshall. And for this team, this is a group that even with the absence of Derrick Jones Jr., who moved on to the Los Angeles Clippers on a 3-year, $30 million deal, you still feel confident in their ability not only to defend on a night-to-night basis, but to really score and put pressure on teams offensively, given what you know what you're going to get from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, the amount of wide-open threes that Klay Thompson is going to get, and now behind them, the depth with Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, and Spencer Dinwiddie. While some folks may contend that they wanted to see the defense and the ball hawking, guarding ability of a Dennis Smith Jr. be brought back to this Mavericks team, knowing how much of a fan favorite he is, this is a comfortable signing for the Mavericks as well. They know exactly what they're going to get from Dinwiddie as someone who understands the expectations of playing under Jason Kidd and also playing for Nico Harrison as well. You remember the buzzer beater that he hit against the Brooklyn Nets, and you remember him running over to the sidelines, thanking Nico Harrison for bringing him to the Mavericks, high-fiving him constantly after knocking down what was an incredible shot to beat his former team in the Brooklyn Nets once again. But at the same time now, this culture and this team that they've put together is one with a lot of veteran experience, a lot of young talent as well, but a core and a nucleus that will grow together for years. When we're talking about the idea of Luka Doncic at 25 years of age, we're talking about a Derek Lively II who's in his early 20s as well. P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, 25, 26 years old as well. You can see the vision that this team has put together from a veteran leadership standpoint, from a talent standpoint, but most importantly, how young this group is and what they have remade over the last few seasons now, turning over this team to become more athletic, be much better defensively, but now putting together the kind of scoring and shooting that can balance out what was a terrific defensive team during the second half of the year to now one that can not only score, but can defend as well. I want to take you back to what Klay Thompson said and why he chose Dallas. And I bring this up because this is part of the reason why you look at a Spencer Dinwiddie signing among the other things that the Mavericks have done and why Mavericks fans should be excited about what this group can be going into the future. Take a listen.
Why was now the time to depart for a new team, and what made Dallas the destination for you?
I mean, whether you play basketball or work in the corporate world or wherever, whatever industry, sometimes change just can spur greatness, and a new change of scenery can do wonders. And I'm very grateful for my time at Golden State, but I just felt like, you know, moving on could just re-energize me and do something special for the rest of my career. And Dallas was so attractive because of the young players they have, the style of play, the you know, world-class treatment these players get from this organization, and just a beautiful city who loves their hoops. So when I was watching the playoffs and I'm watching the Mavs, make a run for the championship, I just saw myself fitting in really well with this team and the personnel, and they look like they have fun playing with each other and they play for each other, and that was very attractive for me, and that's really all I needed to see, and there's mutual interest there, and that's why I'm here.
So the Mavericks are now 2 for 2 when it comes to players choosing the Mavericks over the Lakers. Shams Charania reporting that the Lakers were trying to bring back Spencer Dinwiddie this summer, but Dinwiddie chose the Mavericks over the Lakers. And we know that Klay Thompson, as you just heard there, did the same when choosing the Mavericks over the Lakers. The culture and the environment that this team is building is something that's attractive. But most importantly, this team, having made the NBA Finals, gives players the idea that they can come in and be serious contributors to a team that has a championship window that's open right now. And even for Dinwiddie, who played his best ball of his career with the Dallas Mavericks, coming back to this team with how they have remade themselves in the identity on the defensive end, but also now the scoring that they have, this is an exciting team that gives you real considerations that they can get back out of the Western Conference and make it back to the NBA Finals. But that is the most important aspect of how this offseason has gone for Dallas. They prove that they are going to be in championship contention for years to come by making it to the NBA Finals and doing so with a young superstar in Luka Doncic at 25 years of age. When you look at how the Mavericks made the finals back in 2011, they did it with an aging superstar in Dirk Nowitzki, and you didn't think that they would be able to potentially get back there, even if they brought back that entire team, because of how difficult the West was starting to become at that time, even with the gauntlet that the Mavericks had ran to win that NBA Finals. Mark Cuban, of course, breaking up that team, not even giving it the opportunity to try and defend that championship, which some Mavericks fans are still sour to this day. But the Mavericks now, based on what they've been able to build and create with this team athletically, defensively, and with the scoring that they have, this team is legit, and they are for real going back into this upcoming season with the acquisitions that they've made. And most importantly, now they have signaled to the rest of the league that they are not a doormat now when it comes to the idea that free agents don't want to come to Dallas. It has become now a place where players want to play. And if that is the case, this team should be able to remain in the conversations for the kinds of players as this roster continues to improve and the changes that are made, even with this team trying to make sure it stays in that championship window, that these players, whether it be free agents or players that are on current teams that see Dallas' situation and how much they've continued to improve and the trajectory that they're on, would want to come to LA, or come to Dallas, I should say, to come play with the Dallas Mavericks. And for Luka Doncic, who, yes, was an MVP candidate, won the scoring title, scored 73 points, 5th consecutive first-team All-NBA selection, yet another indication that this is the right place for him going into the future as he gets ready to sign his Supermax at the end of this upcoming season, where it will be the richest contract in the history of this league, that this is the place and the organization that has his best interests at heart, but most importantly, is putting the kinds of players and in structure around him to succeed going into the future as well. Yet another sign for Luka that the Dallas Mavericks are going to continue to push the envelope day after day, year after year, especially under this regime and Nico Harrison, to make this team better as quickly as they can, because they have now finally caught up to the timeline of Luka Doncic in terms of the success that he has already had in this league. And now they've built a team that is young and talented with veteran experience that should help them be able to navigate difficult playoff situations where they experience, for a lot of these guys for the first time, to be able to have that kind of experience going into next year. I know how talented Minnesota is. I know how good the Oklahoma City Thunder are with the improvements that they made with Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein coming to OKC. I know obviously how good the Denver Nuggets are with Nikola Jokic. I know they lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to the Orlando Magic, but that is still an extremely dangerous team with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic leading that squad. The West is extremely difficult, and you've got up-and-coming teams like the New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies, who will be back, of course, with John Morant this upcoming season. The West is going to be difficult to navigate, but if you're looking at what this team was at the end of this past season after losing in 5 games, in the NBA Finals to the Boston Celtics, and where they are now going into this upcoming season with the idea that they'll most likely bring back Markieff Morris, this team is as good as any in the entire league, not just in the West, but in the entire league, because you've got to have the right mix of young and veteran guys to be able to blend together. And Jason Kidd, now having been an NBA Finals coach, now understands what this group is and what they can be, and most importantly, what's going to take to get back to the NBA Finals. And for Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving working in tandem as the superstar duo to lead this group, this is exactly what they needed in offseason to build on the success that they had and the sense of urgency that Nico Harrison and this front office have displayed during this offseason to continue to build this group toward the kind of championship run that they believe that they are capable of making based off the success that they had this past year. That, to me, is massive, knowing what the Mavericks are trying to put together for years to come. The sense of urgency has remained there since Nico Harrison has got to this team to run the basketball operations. He has not been afraid to make the moves and challenge the organization to bring the kinds of players to Jason Kidd to be able to help this team grow, even with the step back that they took when they acquired Kyrie Irving, going 5-11 when Luka and Kyrie were in the starting lineup together and things not going the way that they wanted to and missing the playoffs altogether, to then bouncing back to make it to the NBA Finals. This is a team that has a vision and a plan, and with the acquisition, bringing it all the way back to Spencer Dinwiddie, all the moves that they have made have been purposeful, and most importantly, there is a vision that can be clearly seen on what they are asking these players to do and what their role is going to be. Defined roles for each of these players you can see based on the acquisitions that they've made, whether it be Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie, and obviously the biggest free agent move that this team made this offseason, bringing in Klay Thompson. Each one of them understand what they have to contribute to this team to help Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, any number of these players that you want to name. They now know what the mission is and what their objective to do to handle their roles on this team to be able to be effective night in and night out. That, to me, is exciting for this team based on who they are, what they've acquired, and what they're achieving going into next year and beyond. Everyone understands what the mission and the goal is, and they have players who have been there, understand that, and most importantly, know how to play alongside a Luka Doncic and a Kyrie Irving to be able to make that happen going into next year. So if you're a Mavericks fan watching what this team has done this offseason, you should be extremely proud of what this group has put together. And now, health-wise, can they remain that this upcoming season to really give fans an opportunity to see how good this team is going to be offensively, remaining one of the best defensive teams in the league, because we know that Jason Kidd is going to continue to preach that in terms of the identity of this team and now what they have built in terms of their depth. They are good at every position on this team, and when you're trying to make a championship, that's what's most important. Do you have good players who you can see continuing to grow in terms of a Jaden Hardy, for example, in terms of his role where he became a better playmaker this past season as well? Everyone that you can see on this team has a defined role in what they're going to be looking to do to help this team. The Mavericks have had themselves a hell of an offseason, and it continues with bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie as well. We'll forgive the fact that what he said, then him choosing the Lakers, apparently mom knows exactly what she's talking about, and that's why he chose to come back, because now Spencer Dinwiddie is back with the Dallas Mavericks and a chance to make a real imprint on this team going into next year for a team that's already made the NBA Finals and looking to go back this upcoming season. That'll do it for this episode of Inside the Mavs. Thank you again for joining me here on this episode. Appreciate you supporting Inside the Mavs. Make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating. Write a review for it while you're there. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, at Kevin Gray Sports, make sure you like and comment on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel at Kevin Gray Sports, and you can follow me on X at Kevin Gray Sports as well. Plenty more coverage of this Mavericks team throughout the course of this offseason. Your first stop right here on Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. My name is Kevin Gray, and that'll do it for Inside the Mavs. We'll talk to you later. Peace.